All right, welcome to our next video in our series on custom blocks. Custom blocks is a super valuable tool because it can help condense our code and make it more readable. Up until this point, we've probably run into an issue where we fill up this limited script space fairly quickly, and our tools to deal with repetition are limited. So tool number one is we could use broadcasts, right? When I receive, we could broadcast the same broadcast multiple times. It would use that piece of code, thereby saving us some space. That's useful, but it's got limits, and broadcasting often has timing issues, which is a problem. Well, if ever I'm performing the same task over and over, I could put it in a loop, like repeat, repeat until, or forever. Those are all useful and valuable. We see the little up white arrow icon represents that we've got loops, which is good. But sometimes even that can be pretty hard to make work. So in walks custom blocks. Now, if there's 8 categories in Snap, you've probably noticed that at the bottom of each of these categories, there's an option to make a block, and it is very exciting. So we click make a block. Let's say I wanted to do draw a square, something like that. Draw a square is going to be my block. The first thing you need to know is that you've got some choices about your block. Number one, what category do you want it to go under? This is a judgment call. There isn't really a right or wrong. There isn't a consequence if you put it in the wrong category. But if it is movement, put it in motion. If it is writing something down, make it pen. If it's manipulating variables or lists, put it in variables or lists. This is your choice. Because I'm drawing something, I'm actually going to put it in that light teal category for drawing a square. Next, you got to decide what kind of a shape your block takes. And this is a good reminder of what are the 3 types of blocks that we see in Snap. Well, there's command, which means you perform a function and you move on to the next thing. You'll notice that command has a snapper above and below it, meaning that it's assumed that there are other commands above it and other commands below it. Reporters do not have snappers. They are round because they're intended to go into these round input slots in some of our other blocks. So if you pick a reporter, that means that the job of your custom block is to report back a piece of information. It could report a number, it could report a word. That's generally what reporters do. Lastly is a special kind of reporter called a predicate. You will notice that these angle inputs are all over in this particular category, and I think they're all over in the control category because they also report just like a reporter does, but they don't do numbers, they don't do text. A predicate specifically reports back true and false. That's it, true and false. So when we ask ourselves, what are we doing? Well, drawing a square doesn't report back a number or text. It doesn't report back true or false. I think it's just a command. So I'm going to click OK. And up pops this little mini window where I get to build a script. And here's what's cool. If I go look in the category I put it in, draw a square is now a block I can use. When I click on this block, it doesn't do anything because I haven't put anything in the custom block yet. So let's go ahead and do that. So how do we draw a square? Well, jeepers, I think we do this 4 times. Repeat 4 times. We move, let's go with 50 spaces. We turn 90 degrees. We do that 4 times. We remember to put the pen down before we start. We remember to pick that pen up when we're done. And if I go to click on it, you'll notice, it's still not doing anything. Shouldn't it be doing something? Well, we got to remember to click apply. Once we click apply and we click our draw a square, ta-da, a square comes up. And you can imagine there are all kinds of unique and creative things that you can do with custom blocks. I think I have a few rules I want to coach as a new programmer before you get too crazy. Here are the rules of custom blocks. Rules of custom blocks. Okay, rule number 1, hugely important. No custom blocks inside other custom blocks. man, this is just, I can't tell you the number of times I've seen a custom block inside a custom block inside a custom block. The complexity gets way high, way fast. Everything breaks. Just don't do it. Try to limit your custom block to 20 blocks. What does that mean? It means it shouldn't really be that long. If you need it to be long, then you should break this up into multiple separate custom blocks. Next up, the purpose should be clear. If you try to make a custom block called do stuff, I'm going to come over to your computer and delete that, because this is the most infuriating thing to try to grade and debug. I don't know what do stuff does, and odds are you didn't think carefully through what it was you wanted your custom block to do. I should be able to see from the title everything it is you're trying to do. Draw a square is perfect because it's clear and it's short, does its job, and it finishes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete do stuff. Do stuff makes me crazy. So we should have no custom blocks inside of other custom blocks. Limit it to the inside of your custom block to just 20 blocks. You can make as many custom blocks as you want as long as they're reasonable. The purpose should be clear. And then the other one is I would try to avoid, the one that always throws kids off is if you put too many touching blocks inside, that's not how you spell it at all. If you put touching blocks inside of custom blocks, it can be a real mess and can make it hard to look at timing issues. So avoid putting touching blocks in there because the stepper can't see inside of your custom block. The last thing I want to say is that you can actually add inputs to your custom blocks. So notice these plus signs here, they're for adding more words to the label, or I could actually add an input, which would look something like this. Draw a square of, I'm going to say, make that a title of, of size, make that title. And then this time, instead of just title text, I want an input that I'm going to call size. And what this does is it means that it's going to make an open slot right here where I can pick the size of the square I want. So draw a square of size, so whatever number they put in here will get carried by this size right here. So I could actually say move size steps, and now, conveniently enough, I can change whatever size of this guy I want. So I'll apply so the changes update. And now, boom, I get a square that's of size 100. How about of 37? Boom, it's a square of size 37. How about 2,000? Boom, it's 2,000. So it's really handy. What I want you to know about inputs, so when you're deciding the names of your custom blocks, you can have just generic title text. You can have inputs, you can have as many as you want, and you can even specify what the input should look like. Many of these we're not going to use in our course, but a lot of them should look familiar. Text, right? If you're going to put in some words, you're going to put in a list. That's what that little hamburger icon looks like. The rounded means number. This flexible type right here means any type, and here's Boolean. Those are all the ones we use. We generally don't use object and some of these other more complex inputs, so I'm just going to specify that what I want is a number. So that should change this 2,000 from being in a custom rectangle to now it's in a rounded to signify that we want a number. Okay, and that is custom blocks. Thanks for watching.